Hey everybody, Steven here, and I officially have the ROG Ally. I know everybody has been looking forward to the release of this. A lot of other channels got this really early. They had some issues with the software. This is really just an unboxing video. It's quick impressions with this because I've only had this for like 2 days. But I do want to do a sound test for all the buttons. I do want to show just a handful of video games with the gameplay here and talk about the performance that I've seen so far. And then I'll finish with a couple of the different issues that I've run into just in the first couple days. But opening up the box here, you have that first cover. It just tells you how to power this on. This is the device. It is really light in the hands. It does feel really good. I think it is more comparable to the Steam Deck in terms of just the feel of it. The weight here is 608 grams. The Steam Deck is 669 grams. If you look at a Onexplayer 2, that's 848 grams. So it is lighter than these other devices. But like I said, it feels pretty good in the hands. Inside of the box, we have the ROG Ally itself. Then you have your 65 watt power adapter. This is USB Type-C. I do like that they give you a really good amount of cable length here, especially when compared to those other devices. This is much longer than those other devices. Very nice touch. And then you have the warranty card and then the user manual information. There is no, like, the deck comes with its own carrying case. Like, you don't get a carrying case, and I haven't seen any information yet. I'm hoping it comes out on protective sleeves for this, screen protectors, things like that. Although I do imagine with the 7-inch screen here, you could probably find something right now that is just geared towards another product. But with this, you have to plug it in and then you turn it on. And then after that, you're going to set up Windows 11. So this is a full Windows 11 pre-installed on here versus you deal with the Steam Deck. It has its own Linux-based operating system. And then that comes with pros and cons that are each different. But with Windows 11, the thing that I always mention is this allows you to play certain games that the Steam Deck just doesn't allow. The big one for me personally is going to be Destiny 2, which I will showcase gameplay of that here in a little bit. In terms of just the general performance on this, using Armory Crate, I already have a ROG laptop, so I'm pretty familiar with it, but I do like that integrated system. It is better in terms of the different metrics that you get to adjust and everything than what you find on like a Onexplayer or the AOK ZOE. Now, I'm not going to dive into the Armory Crate in this video, but I have been trying to keep everything up to date on the software side, just because I know with the earlier version that reviewers were getting, there were a lot of performance issues. So I've tried to make sure everything is up to date so I didn't run into any of that. That way, when I do the performance, at least on this video, everything is as good as it can get. I do think it is going to get better over time though, as they roll out more updates though. So I do expect here in the next handful of months, we're going to see an improvement on the performance side because we get these updates to the software and the drivers. So I do want to cover the specs just a little bit. I won't get highly detailed here, but I do have the Z1 Extreme. And with this, we have an AM4 processor. The Z1 Extreme packs an 8-core Zen 4 CPU with 16 threads and 12 RDNA 3 GPU cores with 24 megabytes of cache. This has 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5 dual channel memory, and this has a 512 gigabyte SSD. This is a PCIe 4.0 M.2. And so you can upgrade if you want with this. You also have the 40 watt hour battery pack, and Asus claims up to 2 hours of endurance in heavy gaming titles ran under the 15 watt performance mode. This has a 7-inch IPS LCD display that is a 16:9 aspect ratio that runs at 1080p and has a 120 Hz refresh rate. That was the big draw for me personally, because most of them have been at 60 Hz, and now we get one finally at 120 Hz. The panel cranks out up to 500 nits of brightness and is protected by Gorilla Glass Victus. Asus claims that this has a 7 millisecond response time, and this covers 100% of the sRGB color space. So that's just a quick rundown of the specs. Let's look at the physical features now. On the left hand side, you have the thumbstick, the D-pad, the view button, and the command center button. On the right hand side, you have the thumbstick, the XYAB buttons, the menu button, and then the Armory Crate button. On the right and left hand side, you will find the trigger and bumpers, and they have a texture on them which has a good grip that I've not seen on other handhelds. Moving on to the top of the device, I'm going to start on the left hand side of this video here, which is technically the right hand side of the device if you have it in your hands, but we have the power button, which also has a fingerprint sensor in it. After that, you have the 2-color battery charger indicator lights. Next is the volume buttons. After that, it's kind of hard to see because it's very close to the ROG XG mobile interface, but you have the USB 3.2 Gen Type-C input, which also can be used for a DisplayPort 1.4 out port, so if you're going to be using this to connect it to an external monitor, and then this also doubles down as the input for charging. Going back to the ROG XG mobile interface here, very unique with handhelds because it's this proprietary input that allows you to connect it to this device that you now have this eGPU. Looking at their website though, this thing is listed, it's not even out yet, and they are asking $2,000 for it. I'm a little bit confused with how they're writing it up because it says it only supports an RTX 4090, so I don't know if at that price you're getting the 4090 with it or if that's still an extra cost. I would assume at that price point at $2,000, because most eGPU, if you're just buying it like razors or something like that, I mean $300, $400, maybe $500. This one is $2,000, so I think we need more clarification on that. I've seen some videos are out where people are testing it, but this isn't even out to the general public just yet. So maybe down the road, but $2,000, that is way outside of my price that I'm comfortable paying for something like that. And you're already paying for the device itself. So an extra $2,000 on top of that, that just seems, at least to me, a little bit ridiculous. Next to that, you have the micro SD card slot, and last we have the headphone jack. Underneath all of this, you will notice the exhaust vents here. So the fans are actually pushing the hot air out of the top on those two areas that are close to the left triggers and bumpers. Moving on to the back, you can see the two intakes there for the air. So again, it intakes there and then shoots it out of the top. And then you have the back triggers, which are really nice. They feel really good here. You don't get the 4 total, the 2 on each side like you do with the Steam Deck, but a lot of the other handhelds I've reviewed recently don't even have these. So that is a nice touch. And then you have that strip in the middle. It's like a holofoil, I think is the name of it. Like the holographic like baseball cards and stuff like that we used to collect. You have that on the back, and then it's also on the front corners, and I showcase that with the unboxing, but it's a nice touch, but it just has a little bit of a shine to it, and it kind of changes colors when you shift this. Moving back to the front here though, notice that you have the 2 speakers on the left and right hand side of the screen. Again, this is a 7-inch IPS panel here. And then on the outside edge of the right and left hand side, you have ridges. And on the right hand side, it says ROG. On the left hand side, it doesn't say anything, but it does help provide a good amount of grip when you're holding this. So it's not really slick, like it feels like it's just gonna fall out of your hands if your hands happen to get sweaty. This does feel very solid in the hands. And then of course around the thumbsticks you have the light ring, which I always like when the handhelds have this. It's just always a very nice touch, and you can change this lighting in the armory crate if you want to. I won't showcase that today, that'll be for the final review, but again, a very nice touch. With all of that being said though, let's do a sound test of all these different buttons. So I think this feels extremely good in the hands. I like the click and the feel of all the buttons. I would say out of all the handhelds I've tested and reviewed, this gets the closest to the Steam Deck in terms of just how good it feels. I think Steam Deck is probably still the top spot, but this is a very close second. Next, let's look at gameplay footage from Destiny 2 here, and then I'm going to talk about not only this game, a couple other games, and then just, again, 2 days using this, what's my experience been? And starting before I even get into just the metrics of the gameplay here, I had this click into the BIOS to update twice. After the second time, it's been okay, but after the first time, it actually logged me out of Windows, and then that became a thing. I've heard other reports of people having issues with the software. I think this is going to take a while, and I would guess probably 3 months before they've kind of just ironed out everything on the software side, where we're going to get better performance and you're not going to have as many hiccups along the way in terms of different issues when not only trying to use this for gaming, but just day-to-day use if you're using this to consume media or anything like that, because again, this does have Windows 11, and that may take a little while, and that's kind of what I'm expecting here. I don't think any of these products are going to be perfect right when you get it. Even the Steam Deck took a while for them to optimize everything, and again, that's just what I'm expecting. It's what I'm experiencing with this first couple days here with this product. Now, looking at Destiny 2, I was hoping I could run this at 1080p. The only options I got were 1080p and 720p. Here, it doesn't run super great at 1080p. I'm hoping maybe updates down the road I can get a little bit better performance out of it, but for right now, it's like low 30s, and then it can get into the mid 40s at 720p. If I'm looking at it compared to like the Onexplayer 2, that gets better performance than this does at 1080p. Like I said, I'm hoping that down the road, through them doing driver updates and everything like that, I'm just going to see the improvements to performance with games like Destiny, but just across the board, any game really. Some I think are going to play better and just be kind of more optimized just right out of the box, but certain ones, like I said, you may have to be patient and wait a little while, and that may not just be things that Asus needs to do. It may be things that the actual game devs need to have patches and updates on their end to take advantage of this specific hardware, because again, you have a custom CPU in this, so this is different than the other Ryzen based handhelds that we're seeing come out. So again, fingers crossed down the road, we're only going to see this device get better. Moving on though, let's go ahead and look at Horizon Zero Dawn. So this is running at 720p as well, and with this we have low settings. That was the same for Destiny. This is low settings. This isn't going to hit medium or high with AAA titles. But here it played smooth. We got kind of 30s and 40s with this. I was hoping for a little bit better, honestly, but it still ran smooth. It didn't have a ton of hiccups with this. Again, I'm expecting hopefully that performance with games improves over time, but here 30s, 40s, we can hit 50s. If you load into an area and there's a ton going on, I notice that the FPS tank until it settles down, and so I did that initially and it was in the 20s. Once I got out of that area, just because I had a ton of just the machines everywhere and it was just too much going on, it settled. You can go back and then it'll play smooth. But the 120 hertz screen here, it's not gonna be something that these AAA titles are gonna be able to take advantage of with this hardware, unfortunately. Shifting over to a game that can take advantage of that 120 hertz refresh rate though, let's look at Dead Cells. So any retro style game, right? Whether you're dealing in emulators or just pixel art styles, if it's not graphically demanding, this is where this device, in my opinion, is probably gonna shine, because you do get to hit the 120 hertz here. So everything is just really smooth. Now here we get the occasional drops down where it goes into like the teens. So it's still like 113 or something, maybe even lower, like 105. That is pretty rare. There has to be a lot going on the screen, and with that it still plays incredibly smooth. So I still have more testing to do, but I suspect games like Terraria or Hades, or like I said, anything that's not highly graphically demanding, we're gonna see these higher refresh rates, and it's gonna hold them and it's gonna play really well. Now, outside of that, if we're trying to lean into these AAA games where they're just incredibly graphically demanding, like I don't know, if that's all you play, I would say the 120 hertz is going to be wasted because you're not going to pull that anyway. You're going to need an external GPU to do that, right? So right now for me, for any retro style game, anything that's not graphically demanding, the 120 hertz here is a huge plus. Pair with that the controls feeling really good in your hands. I think Asus has a good device here. I do think in terms of the software and some of the things that we're seeing, the issues, performance, things like that, it's a little bit underbaked, but I don't expect any product that comes to the market is going to be 100%. Unfortunately, usually when they release it, that just is never the case, right? We're going to need updates and all that down the road to just make it better. And I do think we will see that support with this device. The only two issues that I haven't covered yet that I did run into, the speakers would kind of crackle with some games I noticed. I don't know if that is a software issue or if I just have bad speakers. It does it intermittently. It doesn't do it all the time. It was really just in Horizon Zero Dawn and Destiny at certain points. It was interesting. And then I had this running in turbo mode for the games here, which is going to just drain the battery really quick. But I just want to see what the hardware could do if you were pushing it. I will do more tests for the review and down the road checking to see, hey, what does the 15 watts do versus the full maxed out wattage here. When you do put this all the way up, I mentioned that the exhaust fans or the exhaust vents are right by the triggers and the bumpers. If your hands are close, you feel that heat. It actually gets really hot in performance mode. It doesn't get that hot in the other modes, but in performance mode or turbo, really, it gets incredibly hot. Like it feels like it's gonna burn your hand. So do be mindful of that. And last, at this price point, $699, I do think it's a solid device for the hardware that you're getting out of this. And price-wise, it is more comparable to the Steam Deck. When you're looking at other ones, the Ayaneo or the Onexplayer, AOK ZOE, all these other devices, if you get the Kickstarter, you get a good price. So it could be like $800 or $900. If you don't get that, you're looking at like $11, $12, $13, $14, maybe even all the way up to $1,600 or $1,700 for those other devices. And then you really have to look at how much of a performance increase are you going to get with that over this or the Steam Deck. But one thing that those other devices, if you get the Kickstarter early or the Steam Deck does by default, comes with is a carrying case. This didn't come with a carrying case, and right now they have one. It's $40. It looks really basic. I think the Steam Deck one just looks better, and hopefully it has better protection than this one. Now, obviously this allows third-party companies to create different things. Right now there's not a ton on the market. I expect we're going to see a lot here in the coming months, but right now, no carrying case that comes with this, and then no screen protector. Now the Steam Deck doesn't come with a screen protector, neither do those other ones, unless again you get a good deal with the Kickstarter where you're getting all these different perks. But they do have some on the market that you can buy. It would have been nice at least to get the carrying case with this by default instead of just the device. And I'm hoping down the road we do see some covers for this, right? Like some protective sleeves that you could put on this. It does have a matte finish, so it doesn't look like it's going to get a bunch of scratches that you could see with this. And we only have the white version, so there isn't a black version that's going to come out or any other color. But down the road, hopefully we see third-party companies coming out with different protective sleeves for this, because obviously if you're investing this type of money, you probably want this to be very well taken care of, and so it's not going to break if it accidentally falls or anything like that. Well, that's actually going to be it for this video. This ran way longer than I wanted it to, but there was a lot that I had seen in these first couple days that I wanted to cover and wanted to showcase as much gameplay as I could as well. One last quick bonus thing here. On the package, I noticed I was getting everything kind of settled in and put up. On the back of the top, it has this little holder here. Now it's just like cardboard, but it's a cool little holder that you get to prop up the ROG, and it stands it up. So if you're using like an external controller, or if you just want to put it on display, this will hold that easily. It's a nice fit. It feels pretty sturdy. So it's a nice little bonus item that I didn't see initially, but I still would have preferred a case here, but it's better than nothing. It will still hold this up. And like I said, if you're playing with an external controller, this will be nice to have. So that's going to be it for this video. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comment section. I will have links for this and some of the accessories that I found in the description if you want to pick any of that up. If there's certain things that you want me to cover, whether that's in separate videos that are just maybe performances that you may get in certain games, or things that you want answered in the final review, let me know in the comment section and I will take note of that. That way I can cover it and get a list going. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button for me. If you want to continue to follow along with all my content, hit the subscribe button for me. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.